Alexander Mogollon works in antique repair and conservation. He also defines himself as living in Stratum 2, a social class system invented in Colombia in the 1980s.
There is a very popular saying here, oh, you went up a stratus when you think you are better than someone else.
In Bogota, every neighborhood or district is rated from 1 to 6, 1 being the poorest and 6 being the richest. It also has to do with subsidized government services. The higher the stratus, the person pays more for internet, electricity, and water bills. The lower the stratus, a person pays less.
In that moment in the 1970s, the government didn't have information on the income of the families, so they started to divide the residency and give them ranking based on how they looked and what materials were used to construct.
This unique stratification system initially worked, says Juan Guillermo Yunda of Bogotá's Javeriana University.
It allowed the government to be liberated of certain expenditures, to expand public services to the areas that were poor in the city. This is a very positive legacy in the city.
But he says this inevitably also led to stigmatization. In fact, in 2024, a United Nations envoy went as far as to say that the system makes peace unattainable. The envoy said the system has produced social segregation and continued poverty. At the start of this year, the government announced a plan to gradually eliminate the system. Officials say a new approach would take into account a person's individual income and not what neighborhood they live in. The change will take place by 2026. Experts say the changes will have to be gradual, and the government will have the challenge of creating transparency in the new system.
There could be an initial resistance. When it transforms into a system based on registered information, there might be neighbors who might pay different amounts for services but live in the same type of home and neighborhood, and the subsidies won't be understood.
Alexander Mogollon says he's interested in the changes. He complains about less government help over the years despite his lower stratum. He also describes a life of constraint. Moving through Bogotá's neighborhoods is often impossible.
A few years back, I was living in a Stratum 2 neighborhood, and I moved to a Stratum 3, and I felt the financial burden and everything. The public services were more expensive, and even the groceries and the stores were more expensive.
Just one of the many issues that stifle social mobility in Colombia. Michelle Begue, CGTN, Colombia.